players will gravitate towards other players. They become buddies, they become mates, and it's almost certain. I mean, things I've read in the past on the team buses going to away games. Usually, there's two buses, two coaches, luxury coaches for the team, and they're all the others as well, the coaches, etc. And they often have card schools. They play cards, and that's usually in schools of four. So that is another way that you do get groups, not necessarily separating off from the rest, but you get closer friends, which, as I say, you will find in any situation, any workplace. You're going to find some people get on better together than others, whether that's two, three, four, five, six people. So, of course, if you do get a clique of, you said, seven people who didn't say goodbye to the manager. Now, I don't know whether we know the circumstances of that, whether a bit like Thomas Franks of Spurs, 2 or 3 weeks ago, after the team had lost, he went on the pitch to shake hands with his players and the opposition, and two of his players refused either his high five or his hand to shake it. They refused, and pointedly refused. And I remember I said at the time, I don't think if I were the manager I would tolerate that. I'd have to do something about it. Instead of which I think he just said, oh no, I've had apologies, and good luck to him. He was happy to move on. But I don't think a manager can afford to lose the goodwill of the players. They can't. Because once that happens, it's like anything, it creeps. And if you get one or two players who've fallen out with you, they've got mates in the team they talk to, and it can easily happen. So in some ways, it's a wonder that any manager in football or in other sports lasts more than 2 or 3 seasons, because humans change, as we've said before. And, no one gets on with everybody. I mean, that's just not life, is it? We all get on better with it, but a better way to put it, we all get on better with some people than others. That's just part of being human. So a manager has to tread a pretty tricky path. He can't be one of the lads. And of course, with a tendency to younger managers nowadays, they often want to be one of the lads because they've been a footballer for the most part, and they know that, gelling situation. We said a few weeks ago that Arne Slot went to Ibiza, was filmed being a DJ, and I think some of his players were there as well at the same time. And to me, that may not have been the best move to make. Now, I don't know the circumstances. He may be the best DJ in Ibiza, and, all the youngsters flock to him and so on. I don't know. But if he's there trying to get down with the lads, I don't think that works. I really don't. And, I'm sure, I've not heard any more about that since then, so it's probably no problem. But yeah, it's a hard one. And I would be, if I were Alonso, I can only say, without knowing all the facts, I would be very upset if I attempted to say goodbye to all the team and walked around and cheerio, thanks for all you've done, and then 4 pointedly leave the room or turn their back. That's horrible, and it suggests he didn't have a good relationship with them. Even Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's only been there this season, I mean, did he really not have a relationship with him, or did Trent just feel he wanted to follow the lead of some of the others? But yeah, that's a bit staggering, and it might just throw a bit of light on some of the difficulties that a manager in a football club has, and indeed a manager anywhere. There are problems of being the boss. And so, yeah, that graphically observes that. But it'd be interesting to know a bit more as to why that might have been the case, because Alonso might have been, a bit of a, well, the word bastard came to mind. Perhaps I shouldn't use that word, but you've got to be tough. But if he was over much like that, you can perhaps... you can perhaps understand players not responding to that.
Very true, very true. I mean, when I read about his, losing his managerial job, He said, "Oh, he was surprised," and I'm thinking, how can he be surprised? It, you can see the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
they lost to Barcelona at the Super Copa, and I thought that's definitely
mm,
he can't be surprised for that because they're going to be looking at you can lose to any other team, but Barcelona is the closest rival. They want to
mm.
win against Barcelona, so yeah. But anyway, he's gone now. So we're just waiting to see who the next one is.
Just to
Uh,
pick up on, if I can just pick up on that as well.
mm,
It seems to me that in maybe the last, difficult to say how many, the last 4, 5, 6 years, the the longevity of top flight football managers has severely lessened. We can go back a few years and we can think obviously of Alex Ferguson, who retired in 2013. He arrived at Manchester United in, I believe it was 1986. So that's what, 14, 27 years he was there as a manager, and probably the most successful manager we've produced in the UK, Scottish, obviously, managing Aberdeen, and then he came to Manchester United. So 27 years. Wenger at Arsenal, I don't know quite how long it was, but I think he was like 17 or 18 years at Arsenal. Again, pretty successful over the years, not so much in the later years. So again, a manager of great longevity. But when you think nowadays, how many managers are there that have been there for more than 2 or 3 years? I mean, can you think of any? I'm sure there are one or two, but the changing nature of not just football as an industry and as a business, but also the changing nature of human relations. We live in a world of ever, I say more pressure, but change is constantly amongst us. It's what life is about, isn't it? I think you
mm,
said earlier, the one guaranteed thing is change, and we all have to adapt to that and get used to it. But I think sometimes there can be casualties, certainly amongst managers in football, because I don't see any club in our four main leagues,
uh,
particularly the Premier League, having a manager who's been there for anything more than 4 or 5 years. Can you imagine thinking, well, yeah, he's been there. Glasner's been at Palace now for 13 years. No, no it ain't going to happen. And I think that's true across the board of
yeah.
the teams.